What's going on, guys? GloveSaveHockey here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the two contract extensions that happened earlier today with Shane Pinto and the Ottawa Senators and Scott Wedgewood of the Colorado Avalanche. So the Sens and Pinto came to terms on a 4-year deal at $30 million, which will be paying him $7.5 million for the next 4 seasons. If we take a look at this contract structurally, no signing bonuses whatsoever. The salary is not consistent throughout the contract, which means he can basically negotiate and try to get whatever salary he wants in each season as long as it adds up to that $30 million in 4 years. But the cap hit of $7.5 million will remain consistent throughout the 4 years, and that's what's going to be charged on Ottawa's salary cap. So as you can see, 6.5 the first year, then 7, then 8, then 8.5. So it gradually goes up every year of the contract. He will be 25 years old when this contract kicks in. He's going to be a UFA at age 29. So what that means as well is his 25 and 26-year-old year, he's not eligible for like no trade clauses, but the last 2 years of this deal he is, and he has a 10-team no trade clause in years 3 and 4. He is in the middle of a 2-year contract with the Sens right now where he's getting $3.75 million. Before that as well, he was kind of forced to sign a 1-year deal at league minimum after that whole betting scandal came out. He really had no leverage whatsoever and was missing half the season regardless. Now, Shane Pinto's off to a really good start this season. In 17 games, he's got 8 goals and 6 assists for 14 points. I believe he had 7 goals in the first 6 games of the season. He was leading the league for a little bit. But as you can tell, just his overall offensive game is getting a lot better. 59% goals for percentage, 58% expected goals for percentage. That's basically an increase on every single season that he's played in the NHL so far. So I think we're seeing the best of Shane Pinto right now. And I feel like before the season, Shane Pinto was kind of getting into that role of shutting down other teams' best players, but he's also contributing offensively a lot this season, something we haven't seen him do a whole lot in the past in his career, and it's really good for the Ottawa Senators to see that they're going to have a 1-2-3 punch up the middle. Tim Stützle, Dylan Cousins, Shane Pinto. I think Shane Pinto can take a lot of matchups and shut guys down still while still producing offense. So taking a look at what this really means for like the Ottawa Senators and their cap structure moving forward, this season obviously they're operating close to the salary cap, $2.4 million in cap space at the moment. But if we're looking for next season and when this contract actually kicks in, UFAs, we've got David Perron, Claude Giroux, Lars Ellers, Nick Cousins. I don't think any of these guys are really going to break the bank, quote unquote. Maybe it's going to be a couple $1 million for Giroux and if Perron decides to come back as well. On defense, Nick Jensen is a UFA, Jordan Spence is an RFA. Jordan Spence is, I think, a guy they're probably going to want to lock up and keep. Nick Jensen, not too sure. Probably depends on what the money is because you're already giving a right-handed defenseman in Artem Zub $4.6 million. And in net, Levi Merilainen, he's an RFA. He probably won't be getting anything like over $2 million even if the season goes really well for him. So I think it's good to get this locked up right now with Shane Pinto just because you're unsure if he takes another step. Maybe he wants more money on a longer term, and it's better to just do it now so you can worry about signing Jordan Spence and others throughout the season. So overall, Shane Pinto is a well-rounded center who brings a solid mix of offensive and defensive tools to his game. He's a type of player who can anchor a third line, kill penalties, chip in defensively, and contribute offensively where needed. I'm kind of curious to see where he's utilized with these 3 really good centers that they're all paying over $7 million to in the future. I think this is a good contract for the Sens moving forward. My prediction was 7.25 times 6 for Shane Pinto. I think because of the hot start, he's demanding more money, and with the salary cap going up, I have no problem with this contract for the Sens and Pinto. So now we're going to be talking about Scott Wedgewood re-upping with the Colorado Avalanche. Scott Wedgewood is 33 years old currently, 6'2", 201 pounds, has kind of been more of like a backup goalie throughout his career, but I think he's taken on more of like a 1B role since he's came over to Colorado. So this $2.5 million contract is going to be $1.9 million in base salary, a $600,000 signing bonus. I'm pretty happy for Scott Wedgewood to get a signing bonus in his deal. A lot of guys don't always get that, right? That's guaranteed money that is protected in a lockout as well. So Scott Wedgewood had signed a 2-year deal at $3 million with the Nashville Predators last offseason. He was traded pretty early in the season, 1-for-1 for Justus Annunen. Colorado wanted to boost their goaltending as Georgiev and Annunen were not giving them enough. So far this season, he's rocking a 10-1-2 record in 14 games with a .913 save percentage and a 2.26 goals against average and 6 goals saved above expected and .45 goals saved above expected per 60. That's a really good start, especially for a guy who's a little bit older and been more considered a backup goalie throughout his career. I think he's been given the Colorado Avalanche some really solid goaltending so far this year when Mackenzie Blackwood is out. And as you can tell, in accordance to like his percentiles, compared to other goalies in around the league. He was above average last year, but he's taken another step this year into the 75th percentile. He had a couple seasons like that back in 22-23 and 21-22, but the workload wasn't nearly as much as it was that he's doing right now. He's been playing starters minutes without a doubt. With Blackwood coming back, they're still kind of giving Wedgewood every other game right now because he is playing that well. So to get a guy like Scott Wedgewood locked up at $2.5 million, I think is really solid work for Colorado and a good contract for Wedgewood. So obviously Colorado is a team that operates really close to the salary cap. You can tell with the Mikko Rantanen move last year. They were able to re-sign Brock Nelson, bring in a guy like Brent Burns. So they are operating close to the cap. So getting a goalie for $2.5 million that could be playing a key role for you, I think is really solid. So let's take a look at the contract situation for the Avalanche next year. Jack Drury is right now going to be an RFA. Kind of curious to see what kind of contract he gets. Maybe something like a 3x3. Victor Olofsson, Joel Kiviranta. I don't think they're going to be demanding a lot. Same with Zakhar Bardakov as well. Bardakov is an RFA though, and Olofsson and Kiviranta are UFAs. On defense, Brent Burns only got a 1-year deal. Sam Malinsky, he's a UFA as well. They really like him. So they do have some decisions to make in accordance to how they're going to spend their money this offseason after doing the Scott Wedgewood deal. So one thing I was super curious about after the Scott Wedgewood contract and before kind of the term and dollars came out is how long is this going to be? Because Colorado has a goalie in their pipeline by the name of Ilya Nabokov. He was a second-round pick in 2024. He was drafted at the age of 20, which is like a double overager, but as you can tell in the KHL, minus this year, he's been having really solid numbers. I wonder if this slow start to the KHL this year kind of influenced them to re-sign Scott Wedgewood for another year and give Nabokov an extra year to develop, because as you can tell, the 2 years before that in the KHL, 923 and 930 save percentage, even in the playoffs, a 920 and a 942. So Ilya Nabokov looks really promising for the Avalanche in the future, and I'm wondering if they're just trying to give him an extra season to develop before they pair him with Mackenzie Blackwood. So Scott Wedgewood combines really good positional awareness, good movement, and he's able to make reactive saves rather than just relying on a hybrid style. He's well suited for a tandem role. He's a really strong backup goalie, and he can be really effective like you can tell earlier this season when he's on his game. If he ever wants to become a full-time starter, I think he's going to have to consistently be playing more games and not having fluctuating numbers. But I think Scott Wedgewood at his age now is probably going to end up being a solid 1B goalie or a backup. $2.5 million is more than fair for a 1B backup goalie with the cap going up, and I think Scott Wedgewood and the Avalanche have been a really good tandem. So thank you very much for watching this video evaluating 2 contract extensions that happened today. Shane Pinto signed a 4-year deal at $7.5 million with the Ottawa Senators, which will pay him $30 million, and Scott Wedgewood re-upped a 1-year deal at $2.5 million with the Avalanche to keep the Blackwood-Wedgewood tandem going for 1 more season. If you haven't had the chance to check out any of my other content, I'd really appreciate if you can go back and do so. It would help me out if you can like, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss any future uploads.